Are you hopeful now for the Steelers?
I am
team
hopeful.
to turn it
I am
around?
hopeful because if that offense could get it turned on, and then I see Baltimore, wet the bed the way
Yeah,
they did
that was
offensively.
crazy.
I mean, it just reminds you of what Joe Flacco's capable of. He's a Super Bowl champion as a quarterback, but he can also show up on a Sunday afternoon and just say, you know what, I'm taking the day off in front of millions of people. That's just the kind of quarterback that he is. It's not just him. It's their offense overall. Their defense still hasn't given up a touchdown in the second half all year long. I'm talking about the Baltimore Ravens, so I'm certainly not blaming them. But what I will tell you is that I don't have as much faith as Max and other people may have in Baltimore because of Joe Flacco. As a result, you're just going to have to deal with the Cincinnati Bengals. And as long as you can stick around and be competitive for them to come playoff time, they'll disappear come to playoff time anyway. They'll look good until January, and then after that, Marvin Lewis will remind us all about what I've been complaining about. Having said all of that, here's the deal with the Steelers. Antonio Brown got actively involved. Connor ran the football well, had about 110 yards along with a touchdown. This defense sacked Matt Ryan 6 times. I didn't expect to see something like that. And if you can get that level of production from the defense, where a high-powered offense like Atlanta that could be held to 17 points, I'm going to hold out hope. Now, if the Steelers had won, Max, let's say, for example, they won 43-39 or whatever, I'd sit here despite the victory and be like, man, I lost all hope. But the fact that they were able to hold a high-powered offense to 17 points, I'm very, very happy about that. If I'm Atlanta, I'm not. I think this season is done. I don't understand what the hell has happened to them. They should be far more explosive collectively, and Quinn is lucky to get a vote of confidence from owner Arthur Blank. But in the end, getting back to the Steelers, I'm happy and I'm still holding out hope emotionally because this is my team. They showed up offensively and defensively. They basically contained a high-powered offense. Again, if they had given up 40 points, I would feel differently. It's how they won, not that they won.
I think Atlanta's cooked. I don't know how much of that was Steelers defense, to tell you the truth. I'm not so high on the Steelers defense, and I didn't think they were going to make. I didn't think they were going to make the playoffs before the season because of that. That was one. Two, the defense was no good. Two, I thought without Le'Veon Bell, and I suspected he would not show up to start the season, and I thought they might trade him. That's before the season started.
Well, you got to remember, he has to sign a tender before they can move.
Yep, before they can move.
Right.
Because of that, I felt the offense wouldn't be good enough to overcome the defense. But 3, and this is important, the whole division's gotten better. You know, they draft a quarterback in Baltimore, and Flacco so far has been very good for the most part, or at least he's been a good version of himself. He's not an elite quarterback, but he's been a good version of himself for the most part, and he has guys to throw the ball to, and they have a great defense. The Bengals, Stephen A., we get into this about Marvin Lewis and Andy Dalton. A couple of years ago, when McCarron had to pinch hit because Dalton got hurt, I felt the Bengals were going to advance in the playoffs. They were a really well-rounded team, and Dalton was showing signs of playing well in the fourth quarter, of playing well in primetime games, indications he might be good in the playoffs. And then they lost Whitworth last year, and they had to regroup, but they're back to being the team they were a couple years ago. Stephen A., they got 2 really good running backs. They got an all-world wideout. They have an underrated quarterback at this point. They have a good defense. The Bengals are a team without an obvious weakness. There's not one thing that jumps out at you like, oh, my God, they're amazing at that. But they're in the conversation for most well-rounded team in the NFL. And then the Browns, that used to be an automatic win. That is a real defense. They have stars on that defense, and they have a quarterback. Look, that pass he threw to keep the game going, that could have easily been a pick 6 to end the game. That's the kind of quarterback Baker Mayfield is, but he's going to take risks. He's fearless. The Browns are different now. So you look at the division itself, it's better than it was, and your offense is not as good.
I'm certainly not going to dismiss the fact that the Browns are different, defensively particularly, because Greg Williams is spearheading that defense. We all know he's a stout defensive coordinator, with the exception of the fact that he was associated with Bountygate. But, everybody's been talking about Jared, who's the real deal. But I'm a huge fan of Denzel Ward.
Oh.
I mean, this brother is special. This brother's special. Make no mistake about it. And their defense deserves a lot of credit. Offensively, let's keep in mind that Baker Mayfield completed about 74% of his passes when they sent 4 or less after him. But when they blitzed him, they said he only completed like 42% of his passes. So that might be something that opposing defensive coordinators may get tipped off to. So let's make sure the jury.
He's going to hit bumps in the road. He's a rookie.
But I'm just saying, the fact is that when you consider his diminished height, right now he's not looking over, opposing a defensive lineman or the offensive lineman that's blocking for him. And you take that into account along with pressure being something that I wouldn't say
I want to
rattlesnake.
focus on Cleveland. You think they're for real?
I think their defense is for real.
Okay.
I'm not sold on their offense, which is why I'm not sold on them winning games and making noise. Even though I will say this, Hugh Jackson, I'm pleased with him.
Yep.
I love the fact that Todd Haley and Greg Williams are their coordinators, and they're a team to be reckoned with. They're not gonna be an easy out for anybody. But I still believe there's reason to hold out hope for the Steelers because of this division, because of how, and if Cleveland is a threat, remember, it ain't just the Pittsburgh. It's the Baltimore and Cincinnati as well.
But this is my point. I don't think the Browns are going to the playoffs this year. But
I'm talking about what kind of disruption they can create within the division.
In other words, you can't go, as Pittsburgh has already seen. You used to look at Cleveland last several years, quite literally, that's 2 wins on your schedule, automatic. Not anymore, as Pittsburgh has already learned.